With the user group, I want to thank you for joining the Stop the Madness webinar presented by David Humer with Unilink. And David, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, thanks, Gary. And you know, I want to, and Unilink wants to thank TUG and Gary for sponsoring this for us. And at the end, we'll have some questions. And if anyone has any questions, please just type them in to the screen, and I'll be able to see them, and we'll read them out, and we'll go down those that way. And I've got Tony Palermo. He's also with the Unilink group. He's kind of our outside counsel, marketeer extraordinaire. So he will be chiming in as well with what he's come to see in this technology space. So, and with questions and everything, we are shooting to have this in the 40-45 minute range. We know folks' time is scarce, and we want to make sure we make the best use of that. So the in way of background, the Unilink group, we're an outsourced EDI solution, very much like ADP, where they handle all your payroll and your tax payments. And as we talk down through here, we look on all sorts of data communication. So it's not just your old-fashioned, very limited kind of EDI scope. And that's why we term this universal EDI. So what we want to look at is what most folks are doing today in terms of manual input and literally piles and piles of paper that are really clogging up their business processes and their efficiencies. And we'll look at some of the things that people have started doing, and when I say recent trends, we'll be talking about 6 months to 18 months. And then the next wave of changes, that's kind of the things that we're starting to see really since the beginning of the year. And then as I mentioned before, we don't view EDI in a very narrow focus. So we'll talk about what we believe you should really think of as EDI. And then we'll look at not only what the cost of not doing EDI is, or electronic connections, but also what you might be missing out in terms of opportunities. And this is one thing that Tony's come up with that we really like. The manual processing, obviously you can definitely do it. Everyone is doing it, but you can't only do that indefinitely. Your company's not going to prosper if you stay kind of bogged down in last century type of business processes. So again, up until about 18 months ago, EDI has been, what we've seen is very limited. Mostly just connections to your vendors and your suppliers, and as a here, kicking and screaming basis, meaning if I want to do business with Home Depot or a big box company, I have to do EDI. I don't want to do it, but I have to, or I'm not going to be able to play in this market space. Or I have vendors or suppliers that are going to charge me, we're seeing now $30, $40, $50 fee that's tacked on to every manual, faxed or snail-mailed invoice to a company. So, and we'll talk a little bit more about those kind of costs and see that the service charge that some of these companies add on to these is not unreasonable. It's actually, it actually makes sense for them to be charging that kind of fee. And then, like I said, companies are either being forced into it, or they view it as maybe just I can shave a little expense off my bottom line. They look at it in a very limited fashion. But in the last 18 months, people are really getting their heads around what this can do for their business and their business efficiencies. So as I said, the trend is especially in the last 6 months, it's a big hockey stick for people jumping on board with EDI. And as I mentioned earlier, where it was a matter of, oh, geez, I have to do EDI if I'm going to send my PO into the supplier, or I have to do this. Now they're coming to us and saying, hey, look, we've got POs with these 40 companies, but now we want to get invoices back from them. And we want to get PO acknowledgments because we want to know about back order issues or, their thought on pricing that might be out of whack with ours, and we want to get that up front. And then the advanced ship notice is another one that, just like I say here, in the last 6 months, it's been a dramatic turnaround where people are coming to us and saying, I want to do these 4, and I want to do them with everyone I can possibly do it with. And then you have companies that are looking and saying, gee, I can get on board this instead of fighting Amazon or Jet or Walmart. I can participate in the sales channels that they are really opening up. And we have distributors from all sorts of, not just what you consider retail or home goods, industrial goods, control items. These folks are putting their stuff up on Amazon, and they're doing literally tens of thousands of transactions a month just through their Amazon or Walmart channel, just to give you some idea what some of our customers are seeing.
So one of the takeaways is, when you look at EDI processing and you look at your direct cost of manual processing, certainly you eliminate errors, you increase productivity, but there's a cost-saving side of it. And on the other side, there's the opportunity side that David alluded to, and that's being easier to do business with and be able to make it more convenient for customers to select your product and services because they know that they can do that in a more efficient and responsible manner.
Yeah, that's a real good. It's not just something that's being driven by this, but a lot of our customers, their customers are coming to them and saying, hey, you need to make yourself an easier partner to work with, so I need you to get connected to my system. And then what we're seeing, like I said, just starting now, and really we're starting to see people talking more and more about this, is they're looking to expand the kind of transactions they're doing, not just what I referred to on the previous slide as the core 4, but they're looking at the whole rebate set of forms. We have a customer that when we first set them up, they're an Allen Bradley Rockwell partner, and when we first set them up with rebates, the CFO called the technology people and they said, why did we get this $60,000 check before we've even submitted the invoice? So not only have they expanded and extended the product line that they play in to get rebates, hard dollars back from, but they were actually getting their rebates before they had sent the invoice in. So, this is, or they had received the invoice from Rockwell, I should say. So they'd actually gotten money from Rockwell to pay the Rockwell invoice before they had received the invoice. So as you can imagine, the CFO was pleased with that kind of turnaround. And when you start looking at EDI, there are things called value-added networks or VANs, and we really feel that more and more these are going to be phased out, that the internet provides all sorts of new communication options. I've just listed a few here. And of course, with everything in technology, there's going to be more and more of these coming down the road. And if you're not familiar with a VAN, it came into existence before there was an internet, and it gave companies a way to securely move data from point to point. And even whereas I'd say even 2 years ago, the large companies like the Square Ds and the Honeywells, maybe only 10% of those would entertain some sort of other communication option. We're now up into the 40, 45% range. So It's just a matter of time before these companies are going to say, I can eliminate this van cost, this van overhead, if I move things to the internet. And then the a vast majority of this manual stuff, in terms of individual onesie twosies kind of trading partners, are going to come from scanned images that you get or actual paper that's mailed to you. And a way to address that is with optical character recognition, or OCR. But in all of this, you have to be careful that you have an OCR solution that can be guaranteed to be 100% accurate. And there's very few options for making that happen. You have to have some level of, say, outsourced human interaction to be doing the quality control on that. And the reason we feel that if it's not 100% accurate, it's not true electronic communication, is even if it's 99% correct and you get these wrong pieces of information downstream into your ERP system, then you've got to find what that mistake was. Sometimes that can take, hours and hours of time. Then you have to back things out, rework, and then if it's delayed anything in your interaction and getting supplies in or working with your customer, you're going to have service quality impacts. So I'll just say generally, on a large scale with OCR, we've partnered with companies that do a double-blind data review of the scanned data so that the data flow they give us is 100% accurate. And here, as I said, don't view EDI in the old format. There was a standard that was called X12, and granted, many of the large companies still want their data in X12, but what we're seeing more and more is people are supplying, when I say PDF here, by that I mean an actual data PDF. So it's not a scanned image, but if any of your customers use QuickBook and they email you an invoice, it's going to be in a data form of a PDF. So you should be able to break those PDFs open and have a routine that can translate that data and put it into your ERP. XML, CXML, we deal with all sorts of custom flat files. So you shouldn't constrain yourself to only saying EDI has to be this one particular data format. In fact, we've even connected automated tool cribs to people's SX.e systems so that the tool crib, when it hits the replenishment levels, generates POs to their SX.e system, and then when they get the advanced ship notice in, that gets sent directly to their automated as so that it can replenish its levels. So we've also talked to folks that have vending machines that actually talk to over the internet. So that's where here the one bullet item, the IoT, that's the Internet of Things. So again, when you think about streamlining your operations and moving away from manual input, you can get real creative about what those data streams are.
Right, and that's part of the implementation process that we assume the responsibility for.
David, I'm getting an echo on your when you're talking. Do you have?
Yeah, it just started. So, but I'm not talking on a headset or a speakerphone. So.
It's possible that you've turned on the microphone on your computer. You might want to check that. Sorry for the interruption.
I don't think so.
Okay, it sounds better now.
That's turned on. Wait, let me put that away. Okay. So like I said, this is why we talk about universal EDI, that you should be able to have data come in and have it become a data stream. So if you have paper documents coming into you either as a scanned image or through snail mail, then many times you can go to who's generating that, because almost all of the time it's going to be starting out as some sort of electronic file. And why not intercept it before it becomes a piece of paper or a scanned image, and have them send you that Excel spreadsheet or that Word document or that PDF data file. And what we do is we then extract that data and turn it into a data stream that can be consumed by SX or fax or shims or A+ or what have you. I mean, you should be able to connect any to any when it comes to your data translations. And then so there are some OCR to data stream options out there, but remember, you need to really look at what the actual results of that data stream are. That, is this data going to be 100% accurate? Because, as I said, our contention is if it's not 100% accurate, you're going to have a lot of headaches. And before you consider any OCR solutions, make sure you get on the TUG bulletin board and talk to other folks that are using some of these and see what their experience is when it comes to level of accuracy that you get. Now, here's another thing that we view as an old vision. There are things like Ariba, there was a Commerce One, all sorts of things where what they say to you is they have a network, come join our network. But whenever you do that sort of thing, then you have to meet all of their requirements and you have to play by all of their rules. So what we try to do is set things up so that our customers can always play by their own rules, their own requirements, and any data or communication modifications that gets handled downstream from them. So you never see that. Your system should ideally be able to always send out a PO or an invoice or an advanced ship notice, what have you, as your one standard format, and you should always get those documents back into your system in your one standard format. And then what your trading partners require or what their communication requirements are should all be transparent. That should be handled downstream for you. Like this last bullet says here, if you start to put any kind of hurdles up saying, yeah, we can connect to you, but you're going to have to do, even if it sounds like it's something trivial, your trading partner may say, yes, we're going to do that, but we all know how it is. That's going to become an action item on my side, and I've already got 50 of those as it is, so that's going to go at the bottom of my list. So if you want to get this whole process energized, you really want to make it as easy as possible for people to get connected to you. The other nice thing, this last item, accommodate the cheapest and best communications protocols are, if you can communicate over the internet, then you're not going to have the value-added network sitting in the middle, which these companies have been around a long time. They're very robust. They do a good job. However, that layers in another set of cost for you to do this, and it's also another cog in the machine. There's another player that sits between you and getting your data back and forth. So as we know, anytime you have another cog in the machine, that's another opportunity for something to not work exactly right. And as I said, when you're translating data, you can really get into, in your own network. Now, someone else's network is likely not going to do all these things for you, but you should be able to have cross-references for multiple ship tos. You can read down through these. The nice thing is the last item, custom cross-references and conversions. If there's some sort of mathematical formula that can be operated on, like to convert unit of measures or some other type of conversion you need done, that should be able to be layered into your map and your translation, as easily as simply translating data to another spot in a data file. So again, you need to think, we like to think as broadly as possible. Now obviously you can't have, when you're translating data, you can't manufacture data out of a void and put in missing data, but you should always be alerted if you try to send a business transaction and it's missing mandatory information. That should get kicked back to you so you can address those things. And then rebate transactions, be aware if any of you folks are looking, starting down that line or interested in doing that, that these can be fairly onerous to get up and running, because even though you have a rebate request in place with one trading partner, what we're finding is each vendor has very, very specific differences in maybe how they calculate some of the items in there or some of the formatting. So just keep in mind that they're going to take a lot more work. Once they're done, they yield incredible benefits, both in terms of efficiency and also in hard dollar money benefits. So they're worth it, but just be aware that it's not a slam dunk with most of these companies. So one of the things we struggle with, and honestly think of kind of illogical thought process, is many companies have no idea what it takes them to process a manual document. So let's say if you're getting POs in from a customer or you're getting invoices in from a supplier, I think people just assume they've got some number of employees and that just is a built-in cost that we have to have. But if you sit down and you actually look at what each of those documents is costing you in real money, start with the real money, and we'll talk about the soft dollar savings later. One of the things we've come up with is, and this was 7 years ago, we got an internal Honeywell email, and their hard dollar cost was 51 cents for every PO line they had to process. So if they, if one of their distributors sent them an PO with 50 lines on it, it was costing them over $25 in hard dollar cost to process. And one of the reasons I keep hammering on the hard dollar number is that didn't even take into account what happens if order gets faxed into them and it falls off the back of the filing cabinet the fax machine is on and gets lost and delayed, or when these folks are manually entering data, what if they put 10 instead of 100 for a quantity, or they mistype a product item? Then you're looking at your service reputation and impacting people's businesses by delivering them too much, too little, or the wrong item. So that's why I say once you sit down and you look at your actual business costs for your business, and everyone's is going to be different, I say, how does this manual processing look to you at this point? And then Tony referenced, this is, there's a lot of cost savings and efficiency, and we talked about that, but and this is becoming, again, one of these things that we're seeing a big upturn, kind of the wave of the future as we're seeing. It's a sales differentiation tool that if people are going out and they're shopping for a distributor, one of the things they're starting to add to the mix, it's not always just purely price or how close are they, it's how easy are they going to be to do business with? Are they not impacting my internal staff's efficiencies? So, it can, of course, save you money, but it can expand your income. We've had one customer that doubled the amount of business they were doing with Home Depot. It was a hard goods distributor, and they had to add no staff. In fact, the 5 people they had that were doing a lot of data entry, they moved over to be customer service reps for this new Home Depot business. So just with a bit of retraining, they were able to move over and do a much higher value add for that business. So, you know, I would love to double the business and not add anybody. That obviously just adds lots of numbers to the bottom line. And then the more control you have over this, again, back to the efficiency thing, just think how more tightly you can monitor your inventory and control your turns. This kind of goes back to the original slide where we had companies kicking and screaming to get this done. They were sending POs to suppliers because they had to. But now you really need to think about getting the documents into your company, because that's where you're going to get the benefit, the efficiencies, the data integrity, the increased customer service and loyalty. And then if any of you folks use a web storefront or an e-storefront type of thing, one thing we would urge you to consider is, especially with your bigger customers, what if you could connect your web storefront to their ERP so that when they came to your storefront, the nice thing about that is, you know, they're able to see, you know, their pricing, they're able to see actual quantity on hand, et cetera, et cetera. But what if they went to your system and could do all that ordering and then hit a button, and then they would get a file sent back to their ERP, irrespective of what that was, that they could just consume on their side, and it would populate that order. So their folks wouldn't have to key stuff into your web storefront and then turn around and key it into their ERP. That's a big deterrent for people to fully use your web storefront. They might go to it to get some idea of quantity on hand or general pricing, and then turn around and actually just issue that PO from their ERP system. So just kind of next generation things that you might want to think about. And when it comes to doing EDI, you can do it entirely in-house. You have to have things like mapping software and maintenance payments. You'll still more than likely need to have a VAN connection, because a lot of the big suppliers, like I said, it's only 40 to 45% that are starting to move away from that. So over half of them are still going to require that VAN. It's called a mailbox, and you pay by kilocharacter fees, kind of how much data you send through there every month you get charged for. Some of the, you can partner with an end-to-end outsource, and that's what the Unilink group does. Sorry, I think we're getting a little bit of that echo again. I'm not sure why that comes and goes, but we'll press on. And then there's a hybrid where, depending on what your priorities are, you can choose to do some pieces in-house or some other mechanism. Again, you shouldn't have an either-or kind of solution. You should be able to mix and match things.
Yeah, and what traditionally occurs is, on the IT department's list, EDI always starts out there the first of the year, and then other priorities come into play, and the EDI piece doesn't get implemented to the level of the expectation. And that's where we come in, because it takes a lot less of your internal resource to manage this process, because we do probably 80–85% of the work for you.
Yeah, Tony, that's right. You know, there's still a little bit of our customers' resources. They have to generate outbound tests, and they have to review inbound tests, but we offload a lot. They don't have to do any mapping, and they don't have to do any of the transaction monitoring.
Or coordination with the trading partners.
Exactly, the project coordination. So Tony, why don't you speak to some of these general considerations?
Well, we kind of hit the first one, and that is the prioritization. We know that the ROI is there. If anyone takes a good look at their internal hard costs of manually processing these transactions and line that up with an end-to-end service provider, the ROI is within months, if not immediate. So every day that goes by that a company continues in a higher cost model, that's money that could drop to the bottom line. And again, it's not just what you save, it's the factor of being easier to do business with and generating additional revenue from your existing customers because you're the one that they can electronically communicate with and get the high degree of accuracy and communication that they expect.
Yeah, that's I'm getting the echo from my phone again. The one thing that I compare this to is anybody that has Amazon Prime. You're gonna find yourself very likely to use that because it's so convenient. So if you can set your company up in that same vein, where you're the easiest option to deal with, you're going to win more business just by being easier to work with. And this is the last one is I think another one of Tony's adages. You know, I think we've all heard this one. You can automate a poor process, but it just makes things worse faster. So scanning and storing of paper without some sort of electronic benefit is only the tip of the iceberg. You really need to look at what can help your business overall. And here's what it looks like. As I said, if our customers are down here at the bottom, they have one connection, and then they don't care whether it's customer, supplier, or buying group. They always send data out and get it in the format that matches their ERP requirement. Just our little plug, we cover everything here. So it's a one-stop solution. We're not like a van, though we will provide the van connections whenever your trading partners require that. But it's just one piece, and it really eliminates your training. If you have, and I think one thing Tony was alluding to, if you need 2 people to run your EDI business now or your manual processing now, and you see over the next year the number of documents are going to double, you're going to need to double the number of people. Whereas this model, the more transactions you do per month, the lower per transaction price you pay. So it's kind of like a line that's going up and then the curve just flattens out. So that our customers that are doing 300,000 transactions a month, you know, they're paying very little for each incremental transaction.
Right, and there's no CapEx involved. There's no software to purchase. The success is guaranteed. No one gets billed anything until we verify that we have an active transaction between you and your trading partner. And we deal with all of the ongoing changes that might occur. We have a web portal that will allow you to look at any transaction or groups of transaction or date ranges, so you still get all of the control and the monitoring. But if there's an error that occurs from a trading partner, we catch that error. We work with the trading partner to get it resolved, and don't take up any of your resources. Back to you, David.
Yeah, thought I'd try switching devices, see if it helps. One of the things Tony was talking about with the portal, the other thing we also do is we have automated processing. So if we send something to a supplier that's supposed to be sending back an acknowledgement, they fail to send an acknowledgement. Automated alert will send an email to a notification email list, and then we can follow up. If they say something needs to be sent, we can re-queue transactions and resend them. Our customers don't even know there was an issue. All of that is handled in the background for you. And then the one item here, keeping up with changing EDI technologies, that goes to communication formats, things I listed, FTP, SFTP, encoded transmissions, AS2. There's going to be more and more new things coming out, and we just continually handle those for you. So you don't have to design and buy and build AS2 servers. That's something that just gets handled. Or if new data formats come out, whether it be new X12 releases or people come up with new XML updated requirements, all that stuff is built into the service. So as we said, we don't understand why many companies are fighting this whole thing, because this automation, you get faster speed, less time, higher efficiency, higher quality, and as Tony said, you just about immediately start to save money. So that's the tip of the iceberg. You start to save money. Then down at the next level, you increase your customer quality and customer loyalty, and then below that, you expand your sales channels. So again, we encourage people, don't just think of EDI as an efficiency saving item. It can actually expand your revenue opportunities.
Yeah, most initiatives over the many years that I've been at different companies, when you talk about cost, quality, or timing, the vendor will always tell you, well, you can have two of the three. If you want it quick and you want high quality, it's going to cost you more. It'll cost you less if you can wait a little bit longer and you can still retain the quality. But it's always two of the three. But this value proposition is really a rare time where you actually get 3 out of 3. You get time, cost, and quality.
And then Tony always reminds us we can you can be the steamroller, or you can become part of the road. He's very adamant about this is the wave of the future. Everyone needs to get on board and be the steamroller. Right.
I mean, if you look at the increase that's predicted in manufacturing across the United States, I think all companies are going to rise and deal with higher volumes, but they're also going to be challenged to produce bottom line results. And this is an area of a business where the results are definitely predictable and quantifiable, and almost have to be included at some point in time in the processes of running an efficient business.
And here's my contact information, and Tony can be reached at tpalermo@unilinkgroup.com. And then we have our website on here, and Tony's been instrumental in expanding and adding really tons of new stuff there. So I'd encourage anyone with even a passing interest to seek that out and browse, see what is appropriate to your company. And as we said at the beginning, if anyone has any questions, there should be a question box on the right-hand side, or whichever side you have the webinar. Go to webinar box, and you should be able to type those in. So we have one question. We have had a trading partner flat out tell us that they do not send a specific transaction type, but this specific transaction type would be beneficial to our own internal processing. Can we or Unilink or both work with the trading partner to get the specific transaction ball rolling, or is this something the company really cannot send to us? Okay, that is a really good question, because we have had this situation even to a larger extent than this. We've had customers, they wanted to have a trading partner send them a PO, and we went to that company. They said, we will not send any data over the internet. So, you know, in that case, there is no, if they will not send something, if they feel they can't even email something over the internet, then that's not going to work. Well, one of the, Josh had asked this question. I think one of the interesting things to do would be we could talk to the trading partner, because what may be the case is they think that they don't have the capability, maybe through, as I mentioned early on, many people get locked into, oh, it has to be in X12 or it has to be in this format. So maybe we could talk to them and they could actually generate that transaction type, but in some other kind of electronic format, and then we could get it into Josh's system. So the question, you know, I don't want to equivocate, but it could be maybe. We'd have to talk to them and see if that's the case, or if it's the case that they just can't flat out come up with that information, then no, there wouldn't be a mechanism to solve that. But I think it would be well worth talking to them to see if there might be some alternative method they could generate that transaction type for you. And let's see, Eric says, we use EDI extensively already, but we do it in-house because of the requirements of our customers. My primary concern with outsourcing is integration with our aging version of SX. So one of the things I wanted to highlight was we do any-to-any data translation. So, I mean, we have people that have really old, antiquated homegrown systems, and they can just outsource or output a very unique flat file configuration. So what we do is we translate that and we make it match exactly what your version of SX needs. And the other nice thing about it is if you update your SX system and you require a different format, all you have to do is let us know what the new format requirements are, and that gets handled at our data center. So your, you know, your trading partner, your customers wouldn't have to make any change just because you changed something on your end. You upgraded to a different version, SX, say, or your aging version, as you put it, required some older nuance. So hopefully that, you can type something else in if that didn't answer that, Eric. Anybody else have any questions?
So just so everyone knows, we did record the webinar. It will be on the TUG site. So if you go to theusergroup.org and click on the webinars tab at the top, you will see this by tomorrow sometime. And David, I'm not seeing any other questions, so I guess we can wrap it up.
Yeah, and I just want to end by, again, I want to thank everybody. I know how tight everyone's time requirements are, so, you know, Tony and I certainly appreciate this. And Gary, once again, you and TUG have been fantastic resources. I know TUG's a great resource for the entire Infor community. So, you know, very high kudos to you folks.
Thank you very much. Good partner.
All right, thanks everyone. Have a good
Thanks everyone. Yep.